Welcome to This Week in the Pentecostal Evangel. My name is Lisa Millen, and I'm professor of church history here at AGTS.
My name is Jason Sprinkle, and I work at the Preaching Center.
My name is Bob Eby, and I'm a professor of biblical exposition here at AGTS.
And I'm Rick Wadholm, associate professor of Old Testament here at the seminary.
So this week we are looking at the February 25th, 2001 issue. So we're into the new millennium. And this is the Pentecostal Evangel. And on our front cover here, we've got Brenda Reaver and
Dave.
Dave.
I was going to say
yep,
Dave.
that's
Dave.
right. Dave. I know, but his name isn't.
Probably,
I know, but
probably
his
the more
husband.
famous Reaver.
yes, but this evangel is about women,
Yes,
right?
it
And
is.
that's why
Yeah.
they've got
Yeah.
Brenda's name
Yeah,
in
Brenda
bold.
and her husband. One of the things I love it, just right inside the very beginning. Women pastors needed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Large,
Contact
bold
your
print.
district.
Yeah. Throughout our 86-year history, women have served our fellowship as pastors and church planters. If you are a licensed or ordained Assemblies of God minister and have a calling and passion for pastoring, call your Assemblies of God district office or call, and then they give the number. And this whole issue is trying to focus on this. And there's highlighted stories and, but right away, again, this call, women pastors needed. And I appreciated the attempt, right? This is where we were, 2001, wanting to give this focus, give this attention that we believed was rightful, that we believed was part of the Pentecostal ethos from the beginning. I mean, it's right there in our 86-year history.
Except.
It is the language we've used. But one of the fascinating things, and I decided to bring something extra, a book by Joy Qualls, God Forgive Us for Being Women,
Yeah,
which is
great
just
book.
a fantastic
It is.
volume.
It is a great book.
God Forgive Us for Being Women, subtitle Rhetoric, Theology, and Pentecostal Tradition, where she traces the Assembly of God history. What was the rhetoric that we used in writing and publication, but then what's the reality of how we acted and how we empowered or didn't empower or did not give space?
Yeah.
Or women in ministry was the wife of the pastor who may happen to also serve.
Right.
We were emphatic in our early Constitution and bylaws, 1914, both meetings in 1914, 1915. We were emphatic. Women could preach, women could prophesy, women could pray. They could be missionaries, they could be evangelists, they could carry credentials. They could not officially pastor churches.
Yeah. Right.
So I think it's probably, and I don't know if it's too late, I don't know if Hal Donaldson, who was the editor of this one, if we could go back to him and ask him if he'd like to adjust this, because for 86 years, we did not endorse women as pastors.
Right.
Right.
Well,
It wasn't
The earliest
86
part,
years.
it's clear in the Constitution
Yeah.
and bylaws. We did not.
It highlights, I think, an interesting perspective on Pentecostalism, right? We have a lot of ideals that we hold out there rhetorically, but we don't always live out very well.
Yeah. Did you have something, Jason, that you wanted to highlight?
Well, this whole edition is on women in ministry. The thing that jumped out to me is not about a woman in ministry. It is about a friend I went to Bible school with and is now currently my district superintendent in Illinois.
Oh.
He's a youth pastor in 2001. He hasn't been out of CBC for all that long. He's a youth pastor in Joliet, Illinois at First Assembly, and he has come up with a creative outreach tool as a youth pastor for reaching teens in his community. But it was that connection with Joel that reached out to me.
It's fun, isn't it, when we find connections? And we find so many of them, I think, as we read through it. Actually, Bob, why don't you talk about what you wanted to talk about next? Because it falls in line there, and then mine's a little different. So
again, in this emphasis on women in ministry, women ministers, as we already talked about from the very beginning, maybe women couldn't be lead pastors, but one of the things that early Pentecostals unambiguously and emphatically endorsed was women missionaries.
Right.
And many of them were single women missionaries. And so there's kind of a 2-page spread in the middle. And what's interesting, and I'm not sure why, maybe it's just because they're the names that we remember. They're the kind of the heroic figures. But it is interesting that in 2001, they're all
1940s, I think, is
and before.
most recent.
Yeah.
The most
1950.
recent one, maybe.
Right.
Okay, there you go.
They're all legendary
Yeah,
figures.
right.
They're not contemporary figures,
Right.
but they're legendary figures. I mean, Lillian Thrasher, Zeiss, Steidel. Wood,
Alice
Alice
Wood,
Wood. I mean,
absolutely.
these are legendary
Yes.
AG missionary names, and it goes and does a little snippet on what they did. And I will tell you, what these women did was
Incredible.
extraordinary.
Yeah.
Where they went, how they served. I mean, serving for 25 years, those suffering with leprosy, going into places that nobody else would go. And these are truly heroic figures. And I hope, I don't know, I hope that our kids are still being introduced to names like Lillian Thrasher.
Yeah,
in our
sure.
Yeah.
churches. I don't know.
You
Maybe
know,
they are. Maybe they're
But
not.
here we are. Here
I
we
hope
are.
so.
I mean, let's think about this. We are now 25 years even after this edition of the Evangel, and women in ministry still struggle in the assemblies of God. I mean, we're 100 years on now,
Right.
And it's still difficult for them to be lead pastors. So it's funny. We have these competing problems, right? We have this ideal, and we're still, unfortunately, we're still holding up like Lillian Thrasher as an exemplar, and Alice Wood. We still think about these names.
I would say too, and I agree with everything you just said, but I would also say we do that also with the men too.
That's
we
true.
still go to Victor Plymouth.
Well, that's
true.
We still go to J.W. Tucker. We're still making heroes, although I like to think of
Yeah.
Oh,
he's my
yeah.
contemporary missionary.
So,
We're going to edit that out.
Can we say I don't?
No, we're going to
I don't
edit
think
that
we can
out.
say that he is a
Right.
missionary.
oh, okay. So I would like to make this point that in the early years of our girls program, the missionette program, every month they would emphasize a different woman missionary.
Interesting.
Oh, wow.
And
I
it was
didn't know that.
so interesting to read about
My
it because
missionettes didn't teach me
No,
that.
No.
when I earned my
And-
honor star, I didn't do that.
okay. Well, anywho,
In Royal
anyhow,
Rangers, we just mocked the missionettes.
I know.
That's
Okay,
usually
so as I was saying
Sorry.
before I was so rudely interrupted, what happened? What they're emphasizing these women, and they're putting them forward and saying things like, "These women, they go out, they give up the idea of having a family, and having children, and they're held up as an exemplar, right? This is an option for young girls. And then what's really interesting is that as the program, the girls ministry program progresses, and it's not like this now, but it moves into, instead of holding up women like this as exemplars, we move into things like things about dating, things about looking nice, things about having grace when you walk, and about how you talk properly, and so forth. And these women get dropped out, that
Interesting.
exemplar, and it's so interesting,
That is interesting.
to me. But that moves us to this topic that I want to talk about, which is the study, Teens Who Pledge Virginity Keep Their Promise. And we see here what's going to become a very big movement in the purity movement, right?
Across evangelicalism.
Yes, across
Yeah, I mean, it was already
evangelicalism.
going
And you
strong.
get,
It was.
the I kiss dating goodbye, you get the purity rings, you get these purity ceremonies and everything. And of course, there's a lot of good, important ideas there.
We
But
believe in purity and
we
holiness.
believe in purity
We
and
do,
holiness,
yes.
but the
100%.
movement itself, we know now kind of that there's also some detriment, some consequences to the
Right.
way that movement was carried out. And so I always think that's an interesting discussion, but here we see
it's
it.
an interesting glimpse into the cultural moment that the Evangel
Right.
is reflecting.
25 years ago.
Yes, it is.
And I think what you just said there, how the Evangel is reflecting its cultural moment. We see in this one, the Evangel has shifted fully, and again, I think it fits the time period
For sure.
to a very much popular level magazine.
Yes.
Huge in pictures, graphics, infographics, little snippet bites of things. It's you go back to the early editions we've looked at; they are almost exclusively text.
Yes.
Now this
sure.
one is very much visual driven. It's very by the pictures. Also, this is the first time I've noticed on the front page in 2001 that there's the listing of a website.
Yeah.
It's
Oh.
pe.ag.org.
Right.
So now we've moved, the Evangel has moved into
Online.
to the cyber world. And so that's an interesting development. We continue to see whether the Assemblies of God was looking at color printing presses, radio with songs and sermons, the radio with revival time, or now we're on the internet in the Pentecostal
Yeah,
Evangel.
and hosting podcasts.
And now we're doing podcasts.
Yes, that's right.
In fact,
On the Pentecostal Evangel.
that's what is our current iteration.
Yeah.
Right. What
That's
is
true.
coming out of headquarters? We don't publish a weekly magazine anymore. We do have
Online news and-
we have online
Yeah.
news. So I'm not saying we don't have a regular, but you'll see in the last year we've seen the
Videos.
superintendent with Alan
Tennyson.
Tennyson publishing a regular engagement with theology and practice in the Assemblies of God.
Yeah,
Right.
we're ever pragmatic, as Grant Wacker would
We
say.
are very pragmatic.
So, well, that was an enjoyable issue, and I enjoyed looking through it and having this conversation with you guys as always. So, thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you back next week.